Hello, Errol. How are you? Thank you for joining.
I'm very well, Nergish. How are you?
Very, very well. Thank you. All the better for seeing you, sir. So, Errol, thank you for joining me on this episode, basically, where I'm interviewing the icons in industry that hold the PHAB Service Star. And first, I'd like to introduce you to the one human being that probably hasn't heard about you. I see this as a pointless exercise, but there you go. So you're Errol Douglas MBE, which I'm going to quiz you about a little later. And also, you run a phenomenal salon and a business in Motcombe Street in London. Now, that in itself is not an easy feat. And you know, that automatically suggests that you have extremely high standards and, you know, a passion for excellence. And we've seen that throughout your work, etc. But I'm here to talk about that because I guess that's what the PHAB Service Star is all about, raising standards and excellence. So what I'd love for you to do firstly is, and I know you do a lot more than just cut hair and teach, and so please tell us all the things that makes up, I guess goes towards making up you.
I would say I'm somebody who has a big heart. I'm a good listener, and that comes with, you know, picking up the scissors and calling myself a hairdresser. But I'm always kind of open to ideas, and I'm always open to helping people. So my life, even though I've got a salon, I'm always teaching and mentoring. So that's one of my strengths. And I think that's kind of followed me throughout my career. But being established in Knightsbridge, it's just a vehicle for me to go on to do other things, because I've always been ambassadors for quite big companies.
Yes.
L'Oreal, Dyson, Living Proof currently. So I'm always doing something for the industry in that way. Anybody who has or is a member of the fellowship, I was president for the fellowship, and the fellowship is, you know, an artistic organisation, a charitable organisation, been going since 1946. You know, it's got a lot of members, just like, you know, PHAB. But at the end of the day, we are about education and creativity. So I've always been involved in that. But it's like a, you know, an endless ball of string, really. You can unravel me, and I'm unraveling and unraveling all the time. And I'm moving to obviously different directions, but at the same time, I have an amazing company. I've got a fantastic business partner, Kim Clayton. We have about 47 people who work for us. We've been established now since 1998. So we celebrate 24 years this August. So we're moving, you know, we've seen quite a lot in this area, especially with landlords, and, you know, we're kind of in such a big inflation at the moment. Yeah. So again, I've seen different kind of decades in respect of how the country and how London's going. We are, obviously, we've just come through COVID and we're still going through it. So there's a lot of kind of reclaiming and trying to financially reboot yourself. Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot, but I can only say we have an amazing clientele, guests, and we have an amazing support system in the respect of our employees. So yeah, I mean, this duration has been difficult, but at the same time, it's not just alienating yourself. And we're going to go on and talk about that later. You know, I've aligned myself more with all the local businesses, and I've aligned myself more with people in the respect of local PR, not kind of generic PR, because, you know, if you think about traveling, it's too much. I want people who are in the neighboring streets to me. Correct. And obviously in my street. So yeah, we're a great advocate of that. And really, you have to market what you have. I've got great people who have been, good business coaches. And it is true, you have to keep and capture your client data, which is your emails and your telephone numbers. And your emails are really important because people always see somebody contacting you and you may say, okay, I'm not going to look at that, but that chance you do look at it, and it could be just a refresh to come back.
Absolutely.
So emails and that data, that local data for a business like mine is humongously important. So we're always trying to look for ways of getting new clients in, and especially with the hotels. I'm surrounded by probably about 8 blue chip, very well-known companies, hotels. So we're always kind of having meetings with them. We're always in talks with them. They send guests to us and vice versa. So yeah, I mean, it's at this particular time, it is about reinventing yourself as a business, but establishing yourself because you have been here, and you have to tell people you are still here.
Correct.
You have to keep on shouting and shouting and shouting. So we do that on a regular basis, and obviously we do that through my Errol Douglas Hair. We do it through Errol Douglas London. We do it through our Facebook, and we do it through our business page on Facebook. So there's a lot of things we're doing, but you can't stand still and expect people to come to you. So we're always thinking of ways of getting people in.
Well, Errol, I have to say that was going to be my last question to you, but you've already answered it so brilliantly. So I want to jump in here then, because one of the things, I'm a business trainer and have been for some 22 years in the industry and internationally. And the thing that you have said here right up front, and the thing I believe you do so well, and I've said it on Instagram many times, is that you are an inclusive person and you recognize the value of community and working with, you've always done it. It's almost been instinctive with you. And I think that is just such a great, it's an ability, it's a natural ability in you. I've seen you walk into a restaurant in your street and you've just turned on your camera and you've just shown how beautiful the restaurant is inside. And see, that's the thing that you possess, that instinctively you're an inclusive person. So when you earlier told me a little bit about philanthropy being something that is very core to your center, I actually believe that, is that something innate? Is that parent taught? Is that from your childhood? Where does that ability to include?
I would say, yeah, that's a really good point, Nergish. I would say that's from my mum. My mum was the most biggest hearted person, God rest her soul, she's not alive anymore. And I was one of 5 boys, and she was the most charitable person ever. And she adopted children as well. So, imagine having 5 boys running around and she adopted other kids. So my mum was a great kind of role model, but at the same time, she was a nurse as well. She worked at nights because she worked in intensive care. So she was I always remember getting up to having a full meal, smelling food, because she cooked as soon as she got in. So she would get in about 7 o'clock in the morning, cook for everybody, get everybody off to school, and then do it all again. So that's incredible. But from my point of view in life, I've always had an open door for everybody, an open, heart in that way. So I think it's a natural thing. But at the end of the day, you know what humanity is like. We're getting so selfish. Nobody really wants to help anybody.
It won't work. That attitude will never go anywhere, Errol. No. It stops people dead in their tracks. I just recall when you invited me during your presidency at the fellowship, I remember you and Corinne Jackson, and I remember being invited to speak about this first launch, because I launched over 11 years ago as the PHAB standard. But then a year into it, it was going beautifully well, and you recognized standards very early with me. And you immediately spotted that here's something that's going to help the industry, and invited me to speak to it. And then sadly, a year later, I lost the love of my life and I had to give up hairdressing. It's, you know, just being in the industry. And then when I came back, I just kept getting asked for it. And you had all those years ago spotted it and said to the fellowship, I think that the way you introduced me at the time was, we're doing excellence in creativity. Here's someone doing excellence in business. And you were so spot on about it that it really, I mean, I have to say, I was so touched that you had that ability to spot it in a distance. And so I will say thank you.
Well, put it this way, it was revolutionary, because nobody really talks or gives talks, and we were the first people to have, you know, it was yourself, Mary Rector, and Dr. Johnson Bahari.
It was the gentleman that was saved. He was the sergeant that was saved. Do you remember?
Dr. Johnson Bahari. That's his.
Right.
That's his title. Yeah.
How wonderful. What an evening that was. And I have to thank both you and Corinne Jackson for doing that for me, because I have so very much to thank you for. So I'll carry on now. I want to guide you, because there are more things I think if we share will help the industry. And I think this is one of the things that I wanted to talk about. So because we have a synergy to do with standards and excellence, where did that come for you? So what was the first spark where you wanted to be the best? When is the first time you recognized that what you're going to do, you're just going to take it to another level, because you're at another level? So somewhere that change happened. When and where did it happen, and from where?
Well, I think from my point of view, it happened when I was about 10, 13, because my brothers used to smuggle me up on a bus, and we would go to the West End, because my mum and dad at the time said you can't leave the area. So a couple of times I would just follow my brothers, and they would say come along. But I remember distinctively getting on the number 8 bus, because I was born in East London, and we went all the way through the West End. We went all the way through Mayfair, and it goes up Hyde Park, and it goes to the King's Road, and it goes past Knightsbridge. And my jaw dropped, because the most pungent thing about Knightsbridge is the lights, and Harrods lights, and all the lights. You know, it just looks like a different echelon of you know, where you are. So I knew I wanted to do hair, and in my head I was thinking, God, it would be amazing to have a salon there. So from day one, in that respect, my standards have been very high. And I think from the point of view, if you have a plan in your life, it's a good to kind of stick to it and have a goal. But at the end of the day, I was born, brought up in East London. I trained in Afro hair, but I didn't want to do Afro hair all the time. So again, I kind of started off a little bit of a precedent when we opened up, because we did both hair types, and we're known for texture. Texture is our strength, because my strap line is technical excellence. So we do every denomination of people: European, Afro, Chinese, Arabic, Afro-Caribbean, you name it. We have everybody who has that training here, and we speak over 7 languages. So it's a very, when people say England, you can't mention the word, it's not European anymore. We mention diversity, we mention everybody inclusive, we mention that person with, open arms, no color. And you know me, you've known me long enough. I don't see color in anybody. I see somebody's heart, I see somebody's soul, I see them from a point of view of what they can, a conversation, not an outline discrimination, which so many people do. But yes, it's always been.
It's very sad that that happens, though, Errol. I mean, London is such a melting pot. It is such a melting pot. And you know what you just said is so valid. It's your point of difference. It is your point of, just by saying we speak so many languages in itself says you're thinking outside the box. You're not thinking hair, you're not thinking hair, beauty, you're not thinking. So that openness happens. I mean, I guess, again, the similarity is there because I was raised in India. So literally there was, every religion in front of you, Hindu, Muslim, it didn't matter where you're Christian, Jewish, literally everyone around you at school. So there was not one pathway. And then I moved to Hong Kong, where it was just, my 10 years in Hong Kong meant you just saw everyone from everywhere in the world. And so I understand, and I think that's your uniqueness. I genuinely believe that you just don't see that bit of the person. And so brilliant to talk in texture. It's the first time I've heard it said like that, and it's beautiful.
And if you think of moving forward, and I know it's a thing with the standards, having that accreditation that's the new thing. And it should be like that anyway. So I'm a great advocate of hairdressers should learn all hair types. And, it should be in the curriculum. We should know it. A multitude of salons turn away Afro hair or textured hair because they don't know how to style it. But, it should be here. We shouldn't have it starting off just because of Rodney King. It should be more of, if I'm going to, college for literature, and I have to know everything. I have to go, I have to do Latin, I have to do everything. So this is the same thing. So we are getting there. We are getting there as an industry.
Because the PHAB Service Stars has supported Texture Matters. That hashtag texture matters. I couldn't understand it because when I attended Vidal Sassoon's Academy in Hong Kong, I was taught to cut Afro hair. It was part of the curriculum. So I never really knew until I understood that the curriculum didn't actually teach it. It teaches it as a module if you want to learn it. But then that's not fair.
I think you have to put it in context that certain things we've moved along, but a lot of things we haven't.
But we're catching up.
If we're talking about this in 2022, it's crazy because it should have been there 20 years ago, 15 years ago.
So agreed, and we're going in the right direction. That's all I really care about. If it goes backwards, we will have to do something about it. So here's what I wanted to talk to you about next, please. What's new coming up in your salon in 2022? So what are you guys doing? Is there any particular services that are new or product lines that are new that you've introduced, or are you just going to build on what you've been doing so far?
We are always building locally, community-wise. I've just linked up with Living Proof. I'm their I'm their pro texture expert. So that's great. The company is an amazing, they're very organic, no parabens. It's a great company, but at the same time, they have a specialist range, which I'm dealing with, which is called the Karl range. But overall, their products throughout the ranges, especially on a global level, is phenomenal. So we're working with them very, very closely. We are, in the respect of locally, like I said, we work with a lot of businesses. We've tried to experiment with a few open days, kind of getting people to come in. But again, we're always going out. And one of the biggest things we have done, we've appointed like a consultant, Rose. She's great. So she actively goes out, speaks to all the big businesses and hotels, and you know, she's great. So we're working with her very closely. We're working with social media specialists. We're working with a lot of people in the respect of who can have like a good catch line to get people in. So that's one thing that we do well. We rely on our laurels and don't shout. You know, we get too comfortable. So these people really to inject and shout to say, yes, we're here. Yeah. We've been here for 24 years. We're a community business. We're part of the landscape. And again, in being here, I've seen loads of businesses come and go, and we're still here. Yeah. But at the same time, what I think is even more important, that the fact that people see we are actively there for the community. You know, we open early, we close late. We've introduced Sundays, our Sunday sessions. We've got an amazing doctor here who does surgeries, you know, non-invasive surgeries. His name is Dr. Ash Soni of the Soni Clinic. And, you know, with him, he is amazing because of his consultation. He is, you know, because he does minor surgeries. He is a doctor. He does, you know, he's not one of these people you go on a course and then all of a sudden you're injecting people's faces and, you know, not knowing the true structure of the anatomy. And he's a doctor. So yeah, that's gone down so well. We're always trying to introduce different things, but at the same time, again, you know, we have to shout about, and I do shout about how great the hairdressers are in here. So our people have been here from the very, very beginning. So we've been here for 24 years. We've had people here. One of the girls who is my educator, Anna Bloomer. Yeah. You know, Anna Baker. It's a married name. Sorry, Anna Baker. She's our education, head of education, and she's head of bridal. And she's been here from the very beginning, 24 years. And we've got one of our amazing colorists who, you know, two of them. You know, one of them has been there for 15 years, and Jasmine's been here for nearly 17 years. So yes, it's like it's incredible. Yeah, sorry, something happened there. Yeah, so it's been incredible. So we have people. We have a lot of homegrown people, and in business, and you know, and I'm saying this as a factor because not a lot of people get it. You have to invest in the people who are going to be the future of your business. I'm really proud of my daughter. My eldest daughter, Yolanda, is here. She's doing so well, colour, and she styles as well, but she's kind of famous for her colour. So yeah, we've got loads of really amazing employees, but at the same time, they are, you know, big characters.
Good stuff. What a boring place it would be if there weren't big characters. So here's the next thing. I mean, I've got so much to ask you. I'd love to talk to you about your MBE and what that meant to you when it happened.
So I got my MBE. God, you threw me there. I got my MBE in 2008. Wow. Yeah. So yeah, it came from the blue. obviously expecting it. I wasn't expecting it. And I keep on saying this now because at that particular time, I kind of, in the industry, was the youngest person to get it. Because usually with a lot of these investitures, they come late in life. So, you know, I got that and I was over the moon in the respect of, you know, 40s. So that was great. But at the same time, getting that was a real testimony to, yeah, my craft. Because,
of course,
you know, you have to be seen by, you know, politicians, doctors, lawyers, barristers. They're the type of people who nominate you. So, yeah, I was completely blown away, but obviously they say what it is. So mine was for education and charity, you know, the philanthropy side. But sorry.
So I guess now I'm thinking of that bus ride you took at a young age with your brothers. Could you have ever seen that going on the bus, thinking, my God,
absolutely not? And I'm going to say this now because this is a relevant thing to talk about now. Yes. You know, we're in this biggest revolutionary. This COVID has knocked people for six.
Yes.
You know, you do believe the government. You don't believe the government. We're not told the truth. We're being, you know, we are the guinea pigs, but the guinea pigs are the real people. So what happens, and I think is happening more and more, is we just want to be told the truth. So at the end of the day, and I think this is really important to say, because there's so many people struggling now. You know, I have clients, and just because I'm in Knightsbridge, Nergish, my clients are just like everybody else. They're going through pain. They're telling me their tribulations.
Yes.
And there's a lot of, you know, there's people out there suffering, you know?
I think, Errol, I seem to say this every time I come on. I'm very, very angry about what's happening just now. So I tend to rein myself in because I'll say it. I grew up in India. I left India for Hong Kong when I was 17. I have lived in a country that was plagued by corruption. And so I've seen it, I've lived it, my parents lived it, and they thought the better of it and moved. I think what is breaking my heart is that I was an economic migrant to this country. I was hired to run the salon at Harrods because they advertised the job in the country by the broadsheets, by the tabloids. That was the rule. And I came to this country and I had made a decision to come here for the betterment. And, you know, one of the greatest pulls for us, certainly my husband, who was Canadian, and me, was the fact that you had there was the sensibility of community, the larger community in Europe. And that we weren't just on a continent, that we could trade and trust each other. And I think fundamentally, in one sentence, I will tell you why I'm angry. Because it's been so divisive and unnecessarily divisive. And for me, that is a knife to my, I'll say to my back, because I couldn't have screamed any louder saying, what are you doing? The whole of Asia is trying to, Asia, Australasia, they're all trying to have a union like the European Union. You've got South America trying desperately to have a union like the European Union. And we gave it away. We gave it away. And that's all I'll say about it. So you can see that I'm extremely passionate.
Oh, yeah. But again, this is the hand. And again, we always have to be careful because, you know, I'm not getting political. I don't want to be political. But again, you know, this is all being part of, you know, British Empire, being part of people who understand and, you know, yes, we've been through all that conquering and all the other stuff, but we were together, and now we're split.
And
we're like the atom.
We were leading the way in every sense. When you thought England and you thought the UK, you thought everyone's welcome. I mean, you know, when you drive through the streets of the UK, pretty much anywhere, I can honestly tell you, it makes my heart glad that just from central London, where I'm visiting my clients, just coming up to West London, where I live, you know, I can pass a Greek Orthodox church, or a Russian church, or it makes me smile. It makes me feel that everyone is welcome. Just contribute.
You feel whole.
Sorry?
You feel whole. I said it makes you feel whole.
Absolutely.
And it makes you feel there is no real segregation like so many other countries. But again, you know, that's what propaganda and the wrong information and, you know, all this stuff. If I hear anybody talking about immigration or people coming over in boats and all that stuff, you know, you can't say that because you don't know what it's like, and you don't know what it's like to flee for your life. But again, some people will go nuts what I've just said, but I don't mean it in a, I mean it in a Christian way. I mean it in a, you know, an open-hearted way. We should open our doors and not close them. But, and I'm not saying for everybody, don't get me wrong. All I'm saying is we are, you know, we're human beings. We should help each other. And we get this whole thing of you, oh, this is crazy.
Yes,
crazy.
Agreed.
But anyway, we're talking about other things.
We're talking about hairdressing, but it's affected our, look, I can tell you it's directly affected us. It has,
of course it has.
It has directly affected our community, our business, our sector. There are so many great people that are almost down to bankruptcy because of it. That's where I feel it, and that's where the passion comes from. Anyway, so I'd like to now get back on track. And the next question I had for you was, so what's new for you? I know what's new for your salon, but I want to know what's new for you. And I hear things about a certain ED club. So I'd like to know more about that.
Well, I've been cultivating an idea for quite a long time, and I've now got it off the ground. So we're launching soon, in a couple of weeks' time. We had a date, but that date's been moved. The Errol Douglas Club is a mentoring platform, but it's going to have different variety of things. So we will be mentoring you, and we're going to run it as a program. I'm going to say the weeks when we correlate. It could be 10 weeks, could be 12 weeks, could be less. So when I correlate that, that will all be announced. But we will go through everything from hairdressing, me being a boss, me being an ambassador, everything, traveling, seminars, collections. We're going to have a different collection bit, which is our archives. If you want to buy into that, that's another membership. But at the end of the day, this is about me passing on my years. You know, I've been in hairdressing for a long time. So if you want to go on that journey, I can take you on that journey, but I will teach you everything. European hair, Afro hair, you name it, long, short, men's, it's the whole thing. That's why we're calling it a club, because it's going to be an experience, obviously not of a nightclub, it's going to be an experience of a club, and it's going to be collaboration of my people in the industry I've mentored, but mostly you're going to see me, you're going to have me, but it is a tiny fine-tuning. It's a different form of education, but it's my interpretation of education, my club. And anybody who would say, in the respect of who works here at the salon will know that, yes, you know, we invest heavily in the people who work for us, but at the same time, anybody who I've mentored, it's an ongoing thing. It doesn't just finish. You don't just finish your life. You know, it goes on. So yeah, I'm going to be that advice, and I'm going to be that coach, and I'm going to be that mentor, but I will be doing it verbally, physically, and virtually.
What can I say? Brilliant. So we've got a lot to look forward to in 2022 from your direction, for sure. So, well, you know, you're going to let us know when it launches?
Yes. Well, I'm a great advocate, because anybody who follows me on Errol Douglas Hair always knows I've always got something to say, and I'm doing the countdown. When the countdown starts for the Errol Douglas Club, we will have a date. The date was, you know, I'm not going to say it, but that's been moved. So a new date, but early Feb, we should be. You should know exactly what the platform is, and you would have your segments from it as well. But it's a new venture, and it's something which I'm looking forward to, because it's a different form of giving back, but at the same time, you can cherry pick what you want from it. Correct. And I think that's more important.
Super. Wow. So, well, that's incredibly great news. I guess, well, you know, you started with answering my question, even without realizing you were answering my last question to you. I guess I shall leave you with the last word to go into, here's how I think you'd help greatly. Going forward into 2022 and the instability that people have felt, and the vulnerability that salon owners have felt, because sometimes it's been nail biting in the industry. Some people have felt, some people have gone under. I think to last count from the British Council, it was in excess of some 8,000 businesses.
And still rising.
And still rising. And so, what would your words, Errol, be to people listening in the industry? How do they go into 2022 with that open heart and with that sort of courage, even though times are appear unstable?
For people moving forward, I think, yes, you have to make sure you're reinventing yourself locally. You have to make sure you have to reach out to all your clients. You should take a look at upselling or upskilling yourself, especially as a hairdresser, and doing something different. And like I said before, we pride ourselves because we have so many different services here. And we, like I was saying before, we speak so many different languages. So we do every conceivable thing in hairdressing. So if you don't do kids, try to invite children in. If you don't do long hair, try to invite bridal in. And like I said before, we have, you know, a great Afro department. We have 5 amazing colorists. So again, there's loads of different things, and you have to find out what your KPI is.
Yes.
And if you've got one, especially as an individual hairdresser working within a salon, you should push that. So it could be anything. You could be just great at balayage, or you could just be great at doing straighteners. So again, it's just people pulling.
So it's a USP that you're saying that someone might have a unique selling point, and so drive that forward is what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Absolutely. So the way how I kind of promote my team, I say they have a business within a business.
Yes.
So you know how businesses, and especially within employers, you have to make sure your people understand the power of their column. So if their column is generating a lot of money, you know, you have to find different ways to kind of keep your column up high. So everybody wants a retention of 90. You know, if you're getting 99, that's amazing. If you're getting 100%, that's exceptional. But at the same time, you know what it is pushing up your column. And there's one person who we've been working with a lot. She's amazing, actually, and you probably come across her. As Carolyn Newman.
Of course, Carolyn, the colorist. My God,
yes,
she's phenomenal.
Yeah, so she has strategically been helping and working with us. Super. So, and that's going to be an ongoing thing. So, you know, people like Carolyn are amazing. You obviously yourself, because you're giving advice in the respect of not just being orchestrator of PHAB, but you're still continuing giving people business advice, which is really
I do a lot of training around the world now and coaching around the world, particularly in Australia and Canada, etc. Because I haven't been able to travel, all my training jobs have gone online. So
and I've done some amazing chats with Steve Hilliard as well. And you know, people like there's a lot of, you know, David Drew, I can go on. There's a lot of people business now, because of the creative has changed. You have to think of what your business is doing. So at the end of the day, that's what it's about, is, you know, moving forward, you know, we've lost so much money in the respect of COVID. You know, a lot of people, we had furlough. Obviously we had 1 or 2 incentives, but at the same time, it's still businesses from 2 years ago, 18 months ago, have lost a lot of money, and it takes a lot to recuperate. So I'm working with my landlords all the time in the area. You know, we're very transparent about, you know, our take-ins. You know, we want people to understand, we're here and we're here to stay, but at the end of the day, I'm working community-wise, you know, and that is the word. You said it, but I'm more, you know, the community for us is hugely important. So it's making sure that's you know, you're keeping that going.
Absolutely great words of advice. All that remains to say, I guess, is Errol Douglas, thank you for giving me your time today. I so appreciate it, and it's been such a joy to speak to you.
Thank you.
And good luck for 2020, and I'm sure we'll 2022, and we'll come across each other shortly.
Yes, absolutely.
Take care, Errol. Stay well.
Thank you very much.
And see you soon. Bye.
Yes. Bye, everybody.